Hi, I'm Patty McGarrahan, and I'm hosting Psychic Holistic Spotlight today. And it's my pleasure to have Laurie Leehan here with me. I haven't seen her in quite a while, so it was great to see her here. And she's going to talk about, besides her mediumship, she has a few other little sidelines that she's going to talk about, and I'm looking forward to it. Hi, Laurie. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here.
Yes.
It's great to see you.
So I know we were talking a little bit about some of the other things that you're doing besides mediumship.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about those before we get into the mediumship part.
Sure.
So why don't you talk about that?
Okay, great.
Okay.
So I just recently opened a healing studio. It's in Carver, Massachusetts. It's called Whispers of Hope and Healing.
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Yes.
I'm a Reiki master, so I'm doing Reiki there, offering sessions as well as mediumship classes and events. So it's been great.
And she was talking about something, the divining rod. No? Okay. I was thinking the divining rod. I was laughing because I just used one recently, so it's on my mind.
Yeah,
because I think they're so cool.
Yeah.
And we actually used it instead of the pendulum on that particular case because we were in a feng shui type of thing.
Yeah.
And so that way people watching, they think the pendulum, you make it move, where that one just does cool stuff.
It does, yeah.
So how long have you been doing Reiki?
Since 2007.
2007?
So, yeah.
Excellent.
So I use it every day. It's wonderful. I use it on myself, on people. Do a lot of remote work.
Do you?
So,
yes,
yeah,
I do
great.
a lot of remote work as well. But I think when I really became a believer in Reiki, I think it was just Reiki 1 or Reiki 2. And I actually feel like it saved one of my dogs.
Wow.
And so it's exciting. It was exciting because they told me that she should be put down after a major operation. I took her home, did Reiki. She went into almost like coma state, so I thought maybe it was just going to make her transition easier. The next morning I did another Reiki session. She stood up, licked my chin, asked for a bone, went out, went to the bathroom. 7 more years of wonderful love from her.
Yeah.
So
it's so wonderful to do the healing on the animals.
It is amazing.
My parents had 2 pugs, and their hips. Pugs are known for hip problems.
Yep.
And I did Reiki on each of them, and they'd be dragging their legs when they'd go out for a little walk. And after the Reiki, they were good for another 3 years, like you said.
Beautiful.
It extended
Isn't
their
that
life
beautiful?
for sure. Yeah.
Pugs are tough between the breathing and the hips.
Yes.
Because I grew up with one.
Yeah.
And loved that dog. Couldn't sleep after she passed because the snoring, she snored on my bed every night.
That's funny.
I didn't know how to sleep without that background noise.
Yeah. But even the Reiki, when doing remote Reiki, when I first learned it, I was like, oh, it's great. I love doing the hands-on healing in person. And I kind of questioned the remote part of it. But I worked in the corporate field, and I was sitting at my desk one day, and someone had seen I had a little stone that said Reiki at my desk, at my computer. So this person came over, and she said, my daughter she's 8 years old. She's sick at home. She's sick enough and lethargic. My husband's about to take her to the hospital. Can you send her some Reiki? So I'm like, okay. So I sent Reiki to her, invited her into the bubble of Reiki, and then I invited the husband in too, because I asked the child, I said, do you want your father to come in with you? And she said yes. And so I sent them Reiki, and not a half hour later, she came over, and I said, how is she doing? She said, you won't believe it. She's playing the piano, she's eating food, and she feels good.
Well, I think Reiki I found so remarkable too. I was supposed to have to be operated on for some cysts. And I said to my husband, I just need some time in the room myself. And I did both hypnosis, set myself into a healing hypnosis, and did Reiki as well, the combination of the two. So they had to find how intense they had to be the next day. And when they did, they couldn't find any signs of it. Now, a 9-centimeter cyst would have broken open if it broke open, and you would have seen at least skin. My doctor just shook her head. So 1 year later, one of my daughters, who was also a Reiki master, I told her, I said, she had 3, one of them 9 centimeters, and I said, you know what you got to do. And she did it, and it was amazing. She had the same thing. So my doctor says, I'm not really supposed to leave this message, but I don't know what you people do. Just keep on doing it, And I removed, I was going to have a drastic hysterectomy, and it took me 10 months, but I got the tumor completely disappeared.
Wow.
So it's amazing what it does. It's absolutely amazing.
It really is.
And and I'm even on a Reiki circle where you get the email and you just kind of beam Reiki and think of the person.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine's grandson, we put him on a Reiki circle, and my Reiki master is from Singapore and around. She taught for 40 years, so her Reiki circle was huge. And that kid was supposed to, at the very least, have one side of his face sagging. Nothing wrong. Came out of it perfect.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful thing.
It
It's
really
a beautiful thing. Yes.
I used to do, probably about 10 years ago, I used to go sit in a circle. We'd kind of do a meditation and see if we got information from spirit or whatever. Everybody would go around and take turns. And there was a woman there at the end of one of those circles that she told us that she had breast cancer. And so the next week she came, and she only stayed for like 10 minutes. She said, I don't really feel good. And I just felt compelled to give her healing. And so I maybe gave her 5 minutes of healing, and she went home. What she didn't tell us, she went to the doctors 2 days later. It had spread to her bones. And when they did the scan, there was nothing there. It was gone.
Oh my gosh.
And the doctor thought something was wrong with the machine, so she scanned her again, and she said, I don't know what to tell you. This is like miraculous, but it's gone.
Yeah.
And
And
so that's
the tumor
amazing.
board at Women's and Infants Hospital, I was part of the tumor board meeting once a month, and they were like shaking their heads. They couldn't, you know, all of a sudden the tumor spiked. And it was, and nothing was in the blood, so I had to keep having blood work. And as long as nothing was in the blood, they would wait out whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
It's
So
incredible.
it's such an incredible process. But a funny story that I had again early on in my Reiki, I was in England and taking mediumship classes, and I had this guy. What a nice couple they were. That they had been on stuff the day before, and he had hurt his leg, and he didn't want to hold anybody up, so he walked like he wasn't in pain or anything. And then he got on the bus and he lifted up his left leg, and he went, oh, and he put it out. So I started beaming Reiki to him, and he went, ah, and a lady on the other side goes, you do Reiki, I do too. And she said, that was the coolest thing, you know. So it's crazy how it works.
It's so versatile. You can use it in so many different ways. When my father was dying, he passed away at home, and I got this urgent text message saying, you need to come, so he's not well. I raced to the house. The entire extended family's like in the kitchen. He's in the other room because he couldn't do the stairs, so he was on the first level. And I went in, and he was sitting on the edge of the bed. And I was like, oh, he doesn't believe in this stuff. What am I going to do here? But I just went over, I put one hand over his hand and started sending him Reiki. And he said, within like 30 seconds, he said, don't leave me. And that was profound.
Yeah.
And I kind of just said, you know, you're going to go to the light, and you did a great job. Your projects are done. It's okay to go. And eventually, there was a hospice nurse there, but he'd only been on hospice for 1 day. And at the time, when I said to the hospice nurse, I said, I'm a Reiki master. She goes, oh, whatever it is you do, just do the exact thing. Keep on doing it, yep. And like, she left the room. And eventually they said, would you like to, you know, do you want to lie back? He said, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And he literally, once he laid back, he took like 6 more breaths and went, and she came running in the kitchen. She said, I don't know what you did, but he's going. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I know. Reiki,
yeah, to go softly.
It helped him to, gently
I had to
leave.
laugh. I had a woman that was in the neighborhood, and all the kids loved her, too. There were 9 kids that we used to call them the Haven Street Posse. They all hung out together. So you had 9 kids at your house, or you had no kids at your house. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they loved the grandma over there. And she was a hot ticket. Sometimes she'd give them advice that would just make me laugh until the tears rolled down. But Grace, we loved her. And she was getting ready to pass cancer and stuff like that. And she asked me, she goes, Patty, could you come over? I want you to do Reiki, hypnosis, and could you bring your notary stamp? I forgot to transfer my car. So I said, okay. So I went over there, and the hypnosis was to help her daughter. Her daughter was an only child. The father died young, so it was the 2 of them, and they were so close that she needed to help the daughter to accept her release. So that's what the hypnosis was about. The Reiki was to make her transition smooth. And the notary was to take the car. She remembered everything else, but she forgot to send she wanted her son-in-law to have it.
Yeah.
So I notarized it. I called it one-stop shopping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I left, and the daughter called me 2.5 hours later. She passed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a soft, smooth passing.
Yeah.
And her daughter said she was so grateful.
Yeah.
So it's
nice.
an amazing, amazing process. I actually I did a whole series, and my grandkids were involved too, but it was anybody else that from my shop that had somebody in that age group. I used to do between Christmas and New Year's, I would do a free tween class.
Oh, nice.
So that way some of the younger people got it
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, because I think everybody should have it.
Oh, yeah.
At least 1 and 2. If you don't want to go any farther, then don't, but
Yeah,
at least
definitely.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I first learned Reiki, my kids were fairly young, so they were playing soccer and baseball and all the different sports, and they'd injure their leg, and like, Mom, can you put some Reiki on my leg?
Nice.
Like,
My first patient was I had a dog that used to flip on his back, jump on the bed, flip on his back, and it was, Mommy, give me Reiki on my tummy.
That's
He had
funny.
tummy issues. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But all my kids ended up Reiki masters, all 3 of my
nice.
daughters, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and helpful with the grandkids too. They found it came in handy. So,
It's definitely worth doing. Like you said, even the Reiki 1 or even just
Two,
the
yeah.
Reiki 1 gives you enough for self-healing and to be able to help
yeah.
other people.
One of my daughters, I don't know if she would have done Reiki Master, but she had a pregnancy that she was not supposed to be able to get pregnant. And then they said she wasn't going to hold it because she was having treatments done. And I think she took the Reiki Master class I was doing solely because she wanted to have all that Reiki given to her so that way she'd hold the baby.
Oh, yeah.
And then they said that the baby would have something wrong with them, either heart or Down syndrome, something, do you know what I mean? And the week after Christmas, we got the best Christmas present ever. And she takes that Reiki Master class into heart,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So it was miraculous. It was miraculous
It is.
that he was completely normal, and that
Wow.
kind of stuff. It was the best Christmas present that we could all get. The whole family was so excited about it.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about him was the Reiki Master, the attunement that I did on my daughter. She was pregnant. 4 years old, my grandson comes to me, and I'm giving myself Reiki. I got like a sinus headache, and he goes, "Grandma, I'll do it." And he puts his hand in, it goes right away.
Yeah.
So I said to my husband, "Do you have anything that hurts?" And he had broken his thumb and had to have it reset. And he did it, and he said, "Oh my gosh, and my husband was not a believer in this. He went along with it
Yeah.
in protest. But anyway, he turns around and he goes,
Yeah.
"My thumb feels better." So it was like, oh my gosh, you know. So it was quite a thing. It was actually absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So it is. It's just so the intention. I feel like it's almost like prayer, as well as like every other thing in it. The other thing that I'm going to tell you, I have Karuna Reiki, and now I got a girl teaching Karmic Reiki at my shop.
Wow,
Those
nice.
added symbols. You can do everything with regular Reiki, but it just does it fast. It's kind of like metaphysical hypnosis versus clinical.
Oh, wow.
So I find that really cool.
Yeah.
So if you ever want a Karmic Reiki class, I've got a really cool girl that does that.
Definitely have to check it out.
Check it out, yeah.
That's awesome.
So in the meantime, we're also a medium, and that's where we met, taking
Yes.
mediumship classes.
Yes.
All over town. Like
Yes,
you said,
we
it was
did.
almost the Massachusetts-Vermont line we were on.
Yep.
And then New Jersey,
Jersey.
we've taken it a few
Yes.
times. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And how is your mediumship? Is it moving forward? What have you got going on?
Yes, I actually just did a couple group readings the last 2 weeks, and it's a lot of fun.
It is a
You
lot
know,
of fun.
it's-
And the healing's beautiful.
Yeah, there's so much healing with it. And when you give a good reading to somebody and you can see the shoulders drop and you just see the peace come over them and the healing, you realize how important the work is.
Yes.
Because I always tell people it's like being out on the skinny branches. And that's why a lot of people don't actually go out and do a lot of mediumship publicly. They'll do it privately, one-on-ones, but they don't go out
I
in
love
public.
the group stuff best.
Yeah, I love the groups.
I do too.
It's
I
great.
It is. It's absolutely amazing. And I had to laugh. I just did, just 2 people came in, and a young girl had passed away from ALS. And I had to laugh because the reading went great with the mom, and then the best friend was with the mom. And now they both took turns laying with her in the bed, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And it was the funniest thing because I was getting into the girl's personal life, and I said, "Oh, you get terrible taste in men." She goes, "That's why I haven't dated for the last 2 years, you know." And I turned around and I said, "Oh, wow, your friend is saying she's going to pick out your next person. She's going to pick out your next people." And I was doing actually a tarot reading too, and I said, "Oh, and the cards have there's 2 or 3 coming in. If you don't pick door number 1, there's door number 2, door number 3." And all of a sudden the mother went to say something, and I turned to the mother and I said, "And she says your mother has to approve." And the last word she said to her, so it's so funny, it was like in this silly little sequence that I was talking about that you watched, and everything else they enjoyed about the reading, but that put the anchor in it. She's around, she's watching.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah.
Those clinchers.
I love that.
You send out there.
And it's when you say it, you don't think it's anything.
Right. Yeah.
And it's so exciting to see it. Yeah.
I just did a reading with a woman where I saw her husband was there, and he had, the first things he showed me was a hammer and a shelf. Somebody was putting up a shelf, and I'm thinking, that is so generic. Anybody could be saying that. Or she's either going to totally take it or be like, "No, I'm nothing, didn't do that." She went crazy when I said that because she said, "I've been trying to get my daughter for like 6 months to come to my house and put up this shelf," and she literally put it up like 2 days before she received this reading.
And I've had the same thing happen. Isn't that cool?
It's pretty incredible. So cool. But also even with the mediumship, it's, end of life, if you're dealing with people, like I said, with my father, his brother had passed a few months before him. I could see his brother waiting for him. So I was able to tell my father, your brother's waiting for you. I can see him. He's got, a carton of cigarettes under his arm for you, because they both were big smokers when they were young. And I could see them. I could also see my grandmother.
Yep.
So I feel like that also helps somebody, to give them the peace, because if they don't believe in it, or they're not, obviously, most people don't see spirit.
Right. A friend of mine is a medium as well, and her mother was dying, and her mother kept hugging, and at first she didn't see it. She had a brother at 5 years old that drowned in the pool next door before they had fence laws and everything, and died in the pool, and she was hugging, I think his name was Stephen. She was hugging him, and it was, and then when it was near the end, she was, it was near the end anyway, but when it was near the end, my girlfriend was saying it was so cool because she'd see them come in and she was hugging. She had a brother that died on his way home from the war. He survived the war and then died in an automobile accident in Germany on the way home. And she said they were coming up to her, and she said she knew she wasn't alone, and it made the passing so much easier to deal with for the people, because she's telling her brothers, "Oh my gosh, Uncle so-and-so's here and so-and-so's here," and it helped out. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And I love doing volunteer work, so I've always kind of done that thing. And I was doing hospice volunteer, and I used to visit a woman. She only had 1 child, but they worked like a lot of hours, so she didn't get a lot of visitors. And when I went, eventually the nurses thought I was her daughter. But I would go over and feed her lunch or dinner, because it was like right around the corner where she was staying from where I worked at the time. And eventually she lived for about 1.5 years, but I would give her Reiki when I would go to visit. And she got better and better. She went from a reclining position, not speaking, to sitting up in a wheelchair and speaking, telling me that she loved me.
I love it.
And all the way to the end, when eventually it did take her. And then she also had wounds. She had dementia, so you can get wounds, I guess, on your body. Those disappeared, completely cleared up, never came back. And
I love it. I love
about 6 months after she passed, I was out at a cookout, and there was a woman there that was a medium, and she gave me a reading, and she brought this woman through, and she said she had trouble swallowing, so I knew exactly who it was. She came in to thank me, because she said she was afraid to die, but I made it easy for her.
Yeah, so I also do house clearings.
Yeah.
And this girl, a regular client of mine, his daughter-in-law, she was having problems getting pregnant. And I did Reiki on her. I was doing Reiki on her, and But one of the things I found out before I started with the Reiki thing, she turned around and she said, could you come to my house? There's something in there because my dogs keep barking. She was a hospice nurse that adopted everybody that didn't have any visitors. So what happened is they all decided that she was their daughter. They thought of her as the daughter.
Yeah.
And I've never done this before, but I went in the house, I sat in a chair and I said, I need you to lay on the bed. She's looking at me like I'm doing a house clearing, right? And come to find out, her difficulty with getting pregnant was she had all these energies around her that was blocking anything from happening. So we released it, and I did Reiki on her as well. But each one of them thanked her. There were 21 people, and each one thanked. All of them thought of her as the daughter, except for one dirty old man thought of her as his girlfriend, you know. And they all said goodbye and sent them off. And it was so beautiful and clearing. So I taught her how to do it for herself. She couldn't do the Reiki herself, but I taught her how to do, you know, disconnecting herself. And then she called me out 2 months later and she said, I didn't follow through with anything you said. Can we have a session in there? So I did Reiki on her. And after I did the Reiki on her and made sure there was no blockages, and I sent up a couple more people, but anyway, less than 2 weeks later, she got pregnant. It took her 5 years to get pregnant. And working together for like 3 months, 2 months, then she ended up getting pregnant. So it was a beautiful thing. She's got a beautiful, beautiful child now. And but the Reiki and the mediumship, I combine them all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing I have is when I do Reiki, I usually have grandmas, because I'm grandma's my favorite title. So I usually have the grandmas come through, and sometimes they tell me where the blockages are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So try doing that with it, because I know you can. So when I'm working on the head, which is so busy, when I'm working on the head, I call in if there's anybody that can assist from the other side. And combining our talents make it even so strong as well.
Well, that's how I got into mediumship, because I learned Reiki. I wanted to learn Reiki because I knew it helped cancer patients with pain management. And because of my volunteer background, I'm like, oh, I'll learn Reiki. As soon as I put my hands on people, I was getting visions. And I didn't know at the time that it was people in spirit. But it was at the time that Natalie Holloway disappeared, the girl in Aruba. And I put my hands on this guy, and I saw a young woman with a long blonde hair, and I was kind of joking with him, oh, you're going to meet somebody? Or I didn't know at the time. And then we worked on another one because it was a Reiki share, and I was seeing a windmill. And there's a windmill restaurant in Aruba, and I was seeing the skinny boats on you would see in an island. And then, you know, a while later, I realized, I said, I think that was actually Natalie Holloway coming to me. But that was when I really first realized I was a medium, so I had no idea what I was doing. And in the beginning, I probably, as you know, spirits just come in, they see your light, and they're all coming to you.
And if they get mad if you don't use it for good use, and they turn your life a little shaky because, you know what I mean? If your life is all like sparkles and wonders, you tend to bench it. But then as soon as you got trouble brewing, all of a sudden you're open up to all that stuff. So I had a couple of times where they shook up my life a little bit. And the second time I turned around, and as soon as everything started, I said, I promise I'll do it. You know? I was becoming too complacent with everything, and they wanted me to move forward. So
I get that all the time with spirit. Sometimes I call myself a closet medium. You know, even though I've done tons of mediumship, but you know,
a closet medium.
Sometimes back when I first started doing mediumship, I was kind of being dragged along by somebody pushing me out into the spotlight. I mean, because my background's in IT, so I've sat in a cubicle for 35 years, so it's different to be up on a stage.
True.
As much as I love it, I love the mediumship.
I joke, I said that I thought I was a rock star, but I didn't have a voice, so I had to find another reason to use a microphone.
That's true. That's funny.
So I'm the opposite. I was like, woo, you know. But because you'd be the quiet one in class, and then all of a sudden you'd start speaking, and it was like, holy mackerel, she's getting a lot of stuff. So, excellent.
And I used to, when I was young, when I was a kid in my teens, I would get the messaging, but I didn't know what it was. I would feel like a complete stranger. I need to come in and give you a message about whatever. And eventually I just shut it down, because I'm like, well, I just must be weird or whatever. And it didn't come back till, you know, I was 40. And when I learned the Reiki.
I benched mine from 13 to 18. And I benched it because I tell this story all the time because I think it was so cool. I looked up at the staircase, junior high school, when we had 7th, 8th grade junior high school back in the olden days. And I looked up the stairs and I saw all the 7th graders that were scared going to middle school, junior high, and with the great-grandparents and family members around them. And I turned to two friends because I just thought everybody saw what I saw. And I turned to two friends and I said, isn't that beautiful? All the great-grandparents and everything are here making sure they're not scared. And they looked at me like I had 3 heads, a tail, and I squished it because 13 is a year that, you've got a lot of change going on within you. And 2 weeks after I turned 18, a big blackbird dove into my windshield in a rainstorm, got caught in my windshield wipers. And I said, because I have to do everything dramatically, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And a guy I worked with turned to me and said, oh, good, you're opening back up. And we never talked holistics. Yeah. So I was surprised that he knew I had it and was waiting for me to open up. Wow. So it was very cool, very cool.
We think about all the synchronicities, too, that come to us. Like over the years, I've had so many different things happen to me. But I realized only like a year ago, the number 14 has followed me throughout my life. And I didn't realize I had a friend who was taken from this earth at 14, but I thought she was 15. All these years, I thought she it was her birthday, she had just turned what I thought was 15, and I think it was her that's always been around me, trying to say, has like a chills,
I love
full
the numbers.
body,
I love the
that
numbers
she's
stuff.
been sending that because she turned 14 and then she passed away like a couple weeks later.
Yeah. I was renting a place. And I love 111, and I love 333 too, is another sequence. And I always have 3 dogs, 3 kids, 3 this, 3 that. It just, but also 111 is a huge favorite of mine. And 1111 and 111, I always look at my phone or the clock when it's those times, So I was laughing. I rented a place in Apponaug, and the guy was trying to get me to pay the heat for the whole building, and thought I was dumber than a rock, and he could get away with it. But I was the controller of a heating and air conditioning company. So I knew it only had one zone, and he was trying to get me to pay for everything. And he got mad at me and he says, fine, I'll give the place to someone else. And I said, go for it. Thank God I did, because they did all that construction in Apponaug, and I wouldn't have even had clients being able to get in there. So it was a godsend, believe me, in a lot of different ways. Spirit definitely stepped in and helped. And then 2 days later, a friend of mine calls me up. She goes, Patty, 111 Airport Road is open. And I went, yes. I opened the door and I said, I'll take it.
That's true.
Because I do love the numbers.
Yep. The things you wish are going to happen don't happen. And you're like, why? And then later on, something better comes about. And you're like, oh, that's why that didn't happen.
And you realize no coincidence is a coincidence. And once you realize that, it's so much easier to not go wow, wow, wow when things don't go right. And if you wait 30 seconds, you're going to find out that it's because you're supposed to be in a different direction.
Yes, nothing by chance.
Nothing.
And when you're going in the wrong direction, you will get that 2x4 over the head.
Stop, look and listen. Yes. Stop, look and listen, yes. And it's learning how to pay attention to the different things. It's a wonderful thing. So in here, one of the things I wanted to know is, can they reach you on Facebook?
Oh, yes, I'm on Facebook.
And it's Laurie Leehan?
Yes. And I have a website, laurieleehan.com.
Okay.
So I have Whispers of Hope and Healing is on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
And
Excellent.
it's on Instagram.
Excellent.
And so you can find me there.
And yes, and if anybody ever has any problem finding her, you can always contact either Kathy from Psychic Holistic Health or myself, and we'll direct you in the right direction to you. I'm so excited that you've opened up the place.
Yes, thank you.
And are you going to have people working for you, or is it?
Right now it's just myself. So I'm doing Reiki, I'm doing mediumship, I've been teaching some classes. I just did an energy class, which was great. And I taught an introduction mediumship class.
Now, you do IET too?
No.
No, you don't do IET?
Not yet,
okay.
no.
I misunderstood.
I do a little bit of theta healing, but...
Oh, theta healing. Okay, explain what theta healing is. We just got a very short time.
Yes, theta healing is it's a meditative process to go up to the highest level, to the 7th plane, where God or source, whatever you believe in, the highest power. And you command healing for people.
Excellent.
And it's very powerful.
Absolutely. I do a hypnosis where I take them to that plane with their higher, and it's a wonderful healing process.
Yeah.
So,
great.
yeah. So in here, is there any other things that you do? What was the energy class that you did?
Teaching people about energy in general, because it was a precursor to mediumship. When you think about mediumship, everything is energy. It's like about quantum physics and how things work, a little bit of psychometry.
Oh, nice.
You know, that kind of
I love
thing.
psychometry.
And the dowsing.
Yes, and the dowsing.
with-
I knew there was something to dowsing
Yeah,
because a few
we did it
things
with
got mentioned
pendulums,
to me.
but like, you know, you can do pendulums, you could do the wire bars.
Excellent, excellent. So
So,
you've
a lot
got to
of
check
fun.
out her new shop. And what
Yeah.
city is it in?
It's in Carver.
Carver, Mass?
Yep, 1 Carver Square Boulevard.
One Carver
Right-
Square Boulevard.
Right across from the
Excellent.
post office.
So go check out Laurie Leehan at that place. And I do thank you so much for coming here today. It was
Thank
wonderful.
you so much.
Excellent.
It's great to see you.